Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity. Today's video we're going to be talking about product fails, more specifically in like the skincare slash just kind of miscellaneous. These aren't makeup fails per se. They're much more either body or skincare related, or even one's a brush related topic, and I just feel like I haven't had a chance to share my thoughts with you guys on these products, and they just kind of, they're those products that can easily slip through the cracks, but I do want to share my review on them just because I do have a pretty solid feeling on all these products, and for one reason or another they're just a complete dud, or they're just not something that I would prefer, not something that works for me, my lifestyle, that sort of thing. So yeah, that is why I want to sit down here today and share with you my thoughts and feelings. Some of these, as I said, are huge duds, but others aren't that big of a dud. They just didn't work for me. We'll get into it. Let's just hop into these product fails, or skincare fails, or body care fails, or whatever you want to call it. Let's get into it. Okay, so first up, the main thing that I've been wanting to share my thoughts with you guys before I kind of get this out of my house and just pass it on to someone who can use it. This is the Jergens Natural Glow Wet Skin Moisturizer. Now, I want to be clear, their usual type of Jergens Wet Skin Moisturizer I absolutely love. It is probably my #1 favorite body moisturizer. I really love the in-shower moisturizers because I can actually remember to put it on my body before I get out, and I like that it doesn't leave me feeling greasy. I don't have to walk around feeling all slip-slidey as it settles in. I can put this on when I'm still soaking wet, get out of the shower, pat myself dry, and by the time I start putting on my clothes, I'm not sticky anymore. And I absolutely love that about this product, and Jergens specifically, their wet skin moisturizer is my favorite. However, this Natural Glow one that's supposed to tan does not work for me, and maybe I'm just a huge klutz, or I'm just in too much of a hurry, or I don't know what it is, but I pulled this out to use because I had finished my other one. And I was like, ooh, it was in the beginning, I think it was like June-ish, and so I was like, oh, you know, summer, I was feeling super sick, but I was like, at least I can look like I feel like I have a healthy glow on, you know, that kind of thing. And so I was like, I'll get a little bit of a tan, whatever I can out of, you know, we'll see what this does and what it gives me. So I started using this, and it was mainly on my legs and my arms, and then I would take it up my chest because I didn't want it to look too crazy. So anyway, I was doing that, and I would say about maybe 2 weeks later, I was sitting outside, and I looked down at my feet, and I noticed that, oh my goodness, it had like settled, and it wasn't even application on my feet, I should say that. I don't know if it's just because I put this on and it was a moisturizer. It's clear, like I just kind of rub it in and do this and I'm done. So when I would do that to my feet and everything, I wouldn't get in between my toes. I wouldn't get, you know, I just wouldn't take the time to really make sure I get everything, a very even layer of everything, and then get into all the crevices to make sure it looked natural. And you could tell, like there were lines in my toes where I didn't go between my toes, where I didn't get around my heel, where I obviously put a little more product on one part of my leg than on another part of my leg. And I was like, oh my goodness, I need to get in the shower and start exfoliating and stop using this stuff because it did not look cute at all. I was slightly appalled and started wearing very long skirts so that I could cover my feet until that went away because that was slightly embarrassing. I didn't notice so much any kind of problem with like my chest or my arm issues. It was mainly my legs looking splotchy, and then specifically my feet just looked terrible. It's really hard to see, like, am I doing an even application? Did I get everywhere? Like when you use this, you're soaking wet, so your body is completely wet. So it's kind of like, well, did I get an even application? It's just too hard. I've heard people really enjoy this. I've heard people, you know, give reviews and say that it gives a really nice tan. But for me, maybe I'm just too much of a klutz. But oh dear. I stopped using it after I realized that with my feet, and I never touched it again, and I've been meaning to get it out of my collection. I'll give it to my sisters. Maybe they have more time to do a more thorough job. But yeah, does not work for me, so I figured I would share that. If you're someone who is like me, doesn't take that much time after the shower, just want to slap something on and go, I don't recommend this. Another product that I think I used maybe 2 weeks, and then I just called it quits. I was like, no thank you. It is the Equate Beauty Aluminum Free Deodorant in the scent Apricot. It sounded like it would smell really good, and it does. It absolutely does. And when I would apply this in the morning and at night, I thought it smelled divine. I thought it made me smell wonderful, but that's about it. When you first put it on, you smell great, and then as soon as you start sweating, it's like the apricot just soured and went rancid in your armpit, and you stink. And like I smelled worse than I usually smell, if that makes sense when I sweat. Like because there are those days, I can't be the only one who forget to put deodorant on, so I know how I smell when I sweat. And when I wore this, like it just smelled sour. It did not smell nice. This is a weird topic to get on the internet here on YouTube on public, but that I just have to be honest and say I thought it smelled 10 times worse than my own BO, and this was supposed to help me smell better, and it just didn't. So after, I think it was a week, I was just like, I can't do this. I couldn't even get through one day. Like, I freshly showered in the morning, would put this on after I was done in the shower, walk out, and by that evening, like, I didn't want to pick my arms up. That's how bad it is. Yeah, I'm not using this up because I'm not going to go through that stinky ordeal. I'm just going to be tossing this because it was a huge fail for me and a big waste of money. So this product, I'm not such, like, it's nothing I hate. I absolutely hate. I think it's nice. This is from Ren. It's called Ren Clean Skincare. I forget if that's their full brand or they're just called Ren, but they sent me the Evercalm Global Protection Day Cream. And it's for sensitive skin, so I wasn't sure how I would like it, but the main thing and the main reason I don't like this is because it's a very thick cream. So when I would use this in the mornings, I didn't like how thick it sat on my skin, and I felt like it altered how my foundation went on. And even when I didn't wear foundation at all, I still felt like I could feel it on my skin, and if I went to rub my face, it would pill a little bit. Nothing crazy where it's, because you know those products that can pill like crazy and just look a hot mess. It wasn't that bad, but when I would go to touch my face, you know, on a day when I wasn't wearing any foundation, I just felt like it left it left a layer on my skin, and I don't like that. For me personally, maybe it's because I have more oily skin, whatnot, or maybe it's just my personal preference, but I like to put on a very thin type of moisturizer that soaks right in, and then I don't even notice it throughout the day. Whereas this, it was very thick, and no matter where I put it, even just on the back of my hand, now that it's soaked in, I can feel it, and I don't like that thick feeling that it has. It's not sticky at least, but it's just something that you feel, and I can feel on my skin even when I'm not touching it, and especially when I do touch it, it just has a thickness to it that I don't prefer. I do think it was a nice moisturizer, and maybe if you're someone who has very dry skin, you'll appreciate that, but for me personally, I just felt like it did too much of sitting on top of the skin and not really enough of like getting into my skin and doing good things. I only used it for about a month, maybe 2 months, so I didn't have a long time with it. I used, if you can see, you know, it starts at the bottom, and this is a pump that goes up as you use it, so I used it to here. But I still have a lot left, but I just don't want to use it because I don't like how it feels on my skin. So I'm going to be passing this along to one of my sisters who has very dry skin, and to see how she likes it on her drier skin and her more sensitive skin, to see if maybe it's just not for my skin type. But yeah, I gave this a good try, really tried to like it, but I just didn't enjoy having it on my face. Next up is not so much a product fail and that it doesn't work, but it's more of an annoyance. This is from Sigma that they sent over at one point in PR, and I should have looked it up and seen what it is called exactly. Dry in Shape? I think that's what this thing is. I think it goes, yeah, it goes this way, sorry. This little tower here, I like the concept of it, but the reason I'm putting it in this fails is because the actual practicality of using it is very annoying. It's because the purpose of this is supposed to be, you know, fewer things. You're able to clean brushes quickly and kind of, you know, clean and go. Doesn't make a huge mess, so you don't have to grab a ton of stuff. So with that in mind, you're supposed to take this and take it apart and use this to clean it, and then you put it back together and use that to dry the brushes. And this works pretty darn well. I do like it. I don't know, I like my glove better than this, but it does work. But the annoyance is that, I don't know, for some reason, if I'm just a klutz, 9 times out of 10, sometimes I have a really hard time putting this back together. But then on top of that, of course, now I don't have any problems. But anyway, sometimes I do. On top of that, I find that while this works pretty well for your brushes, like face brushes and stuff, this is supposed to be for your eye brushes. And I feel like I'm just destroying my eye brushes trying to use it, because in order to use it, you're supposed to like stick this in here and then like get it wedged in here and push it down. But when you're pushing it down, I don't know if you can see, there's like I don't think you can see very well. Let me try to show you so I'm not sounding crazy. This part right here sticks out a little bit so that when you're pushing your brushes down into it, 9 times out of 10, you see how it's touching it? If you're shoving your brush down into it, I feel like I'm just ruining my brushes. Like, see how the bristles are hitting and stuff? So unless I'm like super careful and cognizant of that happening and making sure I'm like, where am I? and making sure like I'm holding it towards the middle so it doesn't, it's difficult. And sure, the first brush, I can manage it, but once you have like 5 brushes in there, it starts to get a little tight. It's really hard to see. It's hard to like aim it without stabbing my bristles into that ledge, and I just feel like that's going to ruin the outer bristles so much faster. So I don't like it for eye brushes. I never use it for eye brushes, and every now and then I do use it for face brushes, but there's only so many on here, so it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to use this. And honestly, sometimes if I'm just washing a couple brushes, I'll literally just go like this and just leave it like that. Don't even bother trying to fit it into here because it can be such a pain. But I don't know, just those little nuances about this product just really keeps me from wanting to use it. And no joke, it's ended up more as a toy for my kids in the bath, or my daughter when she's helping me wash my brushes. She loves to play with this thing than anything I use for actually washing my brushes. So I figured I would share with you guys my little review on this because I feel like I never have a good time of mentioning it, so I'm throwing it in here now. So this product isn't so much a product that doesn't work and isn't worth the money, it's just it doesn't fit with my lifestyle. And it is the ColorScience Total Eye 3-in-1 Renew Therapy with 35 broad spectrum SPF sunscreen in it. I love the concept of this, and I think it does work nicely. So the deal with this is that it's an eye serum, or like an eye balm that you can use under your eyes and on top of your eyes. It's got a cooling tip to make it even nicer, and it also is tinted, so you can kind of use it as a corrector. And I love that concept of it, but I never ever use it because when I go to do my skincare, if I'm putting makeup on that day, I'll do my skincare, I'll use this under my eyes, but then when I sit down, you know, sometimes it can be an hour later, I actually sit down to put on my makeup and I do my eyes, I always have to clean up fallout under my eyes, so then I have to reapply, and I feel like I'm forever removing this from my face. And so it's kind of just like, well, what's the point? I put it on, but now I'm removing it. I think if you're someone who doesn't wear makeup all the time and don't have to worry about that, and you just want something to like do your skincare and then go out and start your day and not have to put on any makeup and still look awake and refreshed, this would work. But I did notice that it was a little dark for me, or not dark, it's pinky, I guess you could say. It doesn't look like it here, but when I put it on my face, I can tell that there's a color difference with my under eyes. So I feel like you would need to find your perfect shade to act as a kind of concealer, but also an eye cream. And I love the SPF of it, but to act as all that and be able to go out without doing anything else to your face. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I'm talking in circles. So yeah, this is not a bad product. See, none of the pinky tones are coming through on camera, so it must be my settings, because my hand, looking at it in person, is very, very pink toned, and I'm just not pink toned in my face at all, so it just would always look a little odd. And if I wore it under makeup, like I said, I felt like I wiped it all off by the time I actually sat down to do my face makeup, so it kind of defeated the purpose. So I just think I'm not the right person for this, and I'm just not the right undertone. And instead of it just sitting in my drawer continuing to go bad because I'm not using it, I'm going to see if I can find someone else who can use it and enjoy it and hopefully get the good benefits. Because like I said, I love that it had a broad spectrum SPF in it. That sounded amazing, but for me, it just doesn't fit for me and my lifestyle. I forgot I had another deodorant, and oh, what is this brand called? It just has an M on the cover. Again, I should have looked this up. I'm sorry. Oh, MYRO, M-Y-R-O. I'll have everything linked down below. Thankfully, I have more time when I sit down to edit these videos than I do when I sit down to record them. But this is a deodorant that once again, something I like the concept of, but just doesn't work for me and my body, and then also just my lifestyle and whatnot. But this is supposed to be a deodorant that you can purchase your initial deodorant, and it comes in this nice little plastic packaging. But then when you are out of it and you need to replace it, you can just order the insert, like the deodorant part, and stick it back into this case, so you're not wasting as much plastic packaging by throwing it away like the traditional deodorant. And I don't know if it was a monthly service or just something you could sign up for, and then when you're getting low you can be like, hey, I need my replacement kind of thing. But it's something like that. But once again, for me, it just didn't work well enough for me and my lifestyle. The Schmidt's just works better. It's not as bad as Equate. I could get through a day with this, but I would say day 2, if you didn't take a shower, it wasn't pretty, and if you had to go outside and work, like yard work or something, it definitely wasn't holding up. So it just did not work for me. I'm someone who lives in a hot climate. I was living in Virginia. I'm now living in Florida. It's very hot in the summer, and it's just nothing that I could depend on. Thankfully, it didn't make me smell rancid like the Equate brand. I could smell myself, and it's just something I don't prefer. So while I like the concept of this brand and what they offer, the deodorant itself just didn't work out for me. Okay, so this next one I want to talk about isn't so much that it didn't work for me or it just doesn't work, like the product itself is bad, it's just that it doesn't work for my lifestyle. This is the BLISS That's Incredi-Peel Spa Strength Glycolic Resurfacing Pads to Smooth and Brighten. And it's this little box of 15 pads, just like you would use, I would use my Pixie Glow Mist. I think that's glycolic acid. They have a serum you can put on at night. That's kind of what this reminds me of. The more intense strength, I think it's 10%. I have no idea, as I said, what this is. I don't see it on here. If I know, yeah, I'll leave the link down below and hopefully you'll be able to find it on their website. But anyway, it's supposed to be like that, and I like that, but with these little pads, I just didn't like it as much. I felt like I was wasting a lot because there's just the one individual pad you have to rip open and use and then throw away. I felt like I was wasting so much, not just, you know, having all this packaging that I was throwing away, but there's a lot of product on these pads, and I would go over my face and there would just be so much left over. Like, these pads are so saturated. And I'd be like, well, I gotta throw it away now. But that's all that like glycolic acid being thrown away that I'm wasting. And so a couple times I tried to put it back in the little, whatever this thing is, and leave it for the next night. But the next night would be kind of dried out. And I'm not someone who wants to go and get like a sandwich bag, seal it up. It's just too high maintenance. It doesn't work with my lifestyle. I have a lot left in here, but I just don't want to use it, so I'm going to pass this along to my sisters, who I'm sure will get some good use out of it. They're younger skin. There's a lot of them. They can each like take a pad and use it for a couple sisters maybe, and get, you know, be able to get all of the product off of these pads without wasting them like I feel like I've been doing. So it's just a dud for me. Alright, so there you have it. Those are my failed products. These are just products that I've been meaning to share my thoughts with you guys, and I feel like there was never a good time, so I figured I'd mash it all up into a video and just give you my thoughts and opinions on these before I move them on out of my house and just keep on moving with my life. So I hope you guys found those helpful. Let me know your thoughts down below. Have you tried any of these products and also had similar experiences? I would love to hear. You guys know I am always curious to hear how these products work for you guys. But anyway, with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys found this helpful as always, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.